afternoon, everyone. I'm Kintiak. I'll just say something about our guest of honor. Her name is Queenie Fancop. She's the MPS Assistant Commander, Special Force 10 in Meghalaya. So she have passed the state police exam, which was held in Meghalaya in 2015, and she have been doing the service for almost 5 years now in special force, and she was awarded just recently like for governor's award, and she has been the resource person from various awareness program in the state, and we welcome you, ma'am. We I hope this session will be a meaningful session for us. And as we know, ma'am, she'll be talking about women empowerment and violence against women. So without further ado, I hand over our chief guest to start with her presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kintiak. I hope everyone is, I'm audible to you. I'm sorry that I was late because of the network problem. So basically, as Kintiak has said, that I'll be talking on violence against women. So because I am a law enforcement officer, basically I'll be talking about the violence against women as well as the laws that every Indian woman should know. So without further ado, let me start with my presentation. But before I start the presentation, I would like to present you a small clip on evolution to revolution, uh, which talks about the empowerment of women. So I hope, please, if I'm not audible to you, kindly send me in the chat box and let me know so that I'll do something from my side as well.
एक थी जानवर जिसका नाम था नारी। जब से वो पैदा हुई तब से सब उस पर पड़ते भारी। कैसे चलना कैसे बैठना सब उसको बताते। अगर कुछ भी गलत हो सब उसको जिम्मेदार ठहराते। पूरी दुनिया आगे बढ़ी पर ना बढ़ी ये जानवर जिसका नाम था नारी। पर एक दिन शी बिगन टू थिंक, मैं भी तो मनुष्य हूँ, मेरे भी है विचार। ना मैं किसकी मर्यादा ना किसी की जायदाद। मेरी भी है अपनी सोच, मेरे भी है अधिकार। दुष्ट है ये अंधी संस्कृति, सारे बंधन सिर्फ नारी को देती। अब करना है इनका प्रतिकार। अकेली लड़ूंगी तो मारी जाऊंगी, लेकिन अगर पूरा संसार दे साथ, इनका हम मिलकर करेंगे संहार। दिखाऊंगी मैं भी बन के घर का आधार। मैं हूँ नारी, मेरे भी है समान अधिकार।
Okay, we are extremely sorry. Ma'am will join after a while because she's having network issue.
I am so sorry, my network is really troubling me. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so sorry, my network is really troubling me right today. So, okay, let's continue with the presentation. Okay, so like what I was saying, that since I'm a law enforcement officer and as a deputy superintendent of police, for me, it is my job to create awareness on violence against women as well as the laws that every Indian woman should know. So basically, what I showed you just now is uh, is a clip about what we can do to empower women. So, as you can see, towards the end, when we stand together, I'm not saying only women, not only the fairer sex. We have to think as both as men and women and other genders that if we stand together, we can fight against violence. So, like the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said, achieving gender equality and empowering women and girls is the unfinished business of our time. You know what? We have many businesses in our life, right? But no one ever thinks about gender equality. Even if it's the 21st century, there are many countries where inequality in the genders is still prevalent. And in order to achieve that, all of us must remember that we play a part so that we can bring up both the sexes, all the sexes, and have gender equality. Let's remember when we talk about gender equality, we're not only talking about men and women, okay? We're talking about all genders alike. We should have an inclusive ideology. And also, when we talk about gender inequality, it is also loss of human rights. So we will be talking about that in the subsequent slides. So as of now, let's see what we talk when we'll talk about what International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women and Girls is about. Now, on my part, I don't usually go to social media, but I do have an Instagram and I do have Facebook. So, from my part, in order to create awareness, most people don't know that 25th November is the International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women and Children. So, in order to educate them, I have been posting the hashtags which are present here, like hashtag Orange the World, hashtag 16 days, hashtag Generation Equality, and so on and so forth. Now, as women, as people, as human beings, we should remember that we have to stop the crime clock. The clock here means the crime clock, that it should run out on violence against women, violence like sexual assault, violence like sexual harassment, as well as inequality. It's time for us to stand up and do something about it. Now, here when we talk about 60 days, what is 16 days? The UN Women has brought out a 16 days activism. So for the next 16 days, there will be activities where the world will be where all the landmarks in the world will be made orange, okay? Because this year's theme is Orange the World. Orange is a color where we stand up together to bring about gender equality. So if you want to be a part of it, I am a part of it. I have joined the campaign. I have been campaigning in social media as well, in my Instagram, in my Facebook, as well as in my WhatsApp status. So if you wish to join the campaign, if you don't know about it, you can please check. I've given there. Okay, there's the link there. It's trello.com/c/QATPHM36. You can go directly to UN Women, to the website of UN Women and do your part there. So when we talk about forms of violence against women, the majority of women we face gender inequality. What do you mean by inequality? When we talk about inequality, especially in India, most families they prefer a son to a daughter. You know, in Hindi terms, we call them paraya. Paraya means what? Paraya means not ours. You know, she has to go to somebody else's house. She doesn't belong in the household. So these are the things that leads to gender inequality. For example, extending to schools. Okay, for example, at workplace, we might have there might be a difference in the salaries between a man and a woman. So when we talk of gender inequality, we have to think of a higher, of a broader concept throughout the world. What gender inequality means and unequal employment opportunities. I myself am a law enforcement officer. I'm in the police service. But unfortunately, we will see very less women in the police force. One of those reasons why is because it is known as a man's world. You know, we are male dominated, uh, especially when it comes to recruitment in so many. When we talk about recruitment in so many jobs, usually they, you know, there is a bias where the recruitment of male and female there's a deep the recruitment, like suppose if you have 100% recruitment, then maybe about 70% will be males and 30% will be females. So those are the things that happens when it comes to employment. Now, female feticide and genital mutilation. You know, genital mutilation is known in Africa, while female feticide, as you know, it happens in India also. Usually, it happens before the fetus is born, okay, which is banned in India, and we have a law for it, which we'll be talking later, as well as, you know, the killing of infant child. Now, domestic violence is very prevalent. Even in Meghalaya, you know, Meghalaya is known as a matrilineal society, which I am very proud of being a part of a society where, you know, it's matrilineal. But when it comes to domestic violence, you know, even we are not, you know, we even it happens in Meghalaya as well. So right now, especially because it's COVID-19, most women are inside their houses with the perpetrators. So domestic violence has gone really up. Now we talk about trafficking. Trafficking here doesn't mean only sex trafficking. We can talk about human trafficking, organ trafficking, then child trafficking. All those types of violence can happen. And in this violence, we talk about trafficking. It also includes men and boys. But in the majority of cases, the percentage of women and girls is higher than that of men and boys when it comes to trafficking as well. Now, rape and sexual abuse, sexual assault, this is not new in India. As you know, we have the Nirbhaya case, and recently we have the Hathras case in UP. So, rape has gone up to 7.3% as per the NCRB website. So, all these things, you know, like this rape culture hasn't gone down in India at all. Now, child marriage also, you know, in some societies child marriage still occurs, be it because of the family can't take care of their children, or maybe because of less education. Some girls, you know, below the age of 18, they get married, or they get pregnant, and when they get pregnant they have to get married soon. So there still is another form of violence against women. Then we have dowry debt, still prevalent till now, even though there are laws against it. Then we have stalking, which leads to acid attacks, and voyeurism, which can lead to pornography against your will. So I hope till this is clear. Now, I've taken this from the World Health Organization, the violence against women, the prevalence all over the world. When we talk about prevalence all over the world, you know, sometimes we tend to forget that, you know, just because we're India, only India does crime against violence. But then, if you look at the figures here, according to the WHO, I hope this is also clear. In Southeast Asia region, it has 37.7% of violence against women. Okay, and in African countries, it is 36.6%. So as you can see, there's a difference there. 37.7% in Southeast Asia, which also includes India, and and high income states like, you know, the Americas, you can see it's and Europe, it's 23.2%, and WHO region of the Americas 29.8%. So as you can see from this, there's a lot of violence of against women. Sometimes just because it's a developed country, we tend to forget that. So throughout the world, they will experience physical or sexual violence, be it through a stranger. But in most cases, 80% of the cases, violence is caused by a partner and also by a person known to them. So what when women are exposed to intimate partner violence, like husband or boyfriend, what what is the impact on their health? The first thing is mental health. They go through depression, and when they go through depression, they can't take the help of anyone because they fear stigmatization. So they're likely to experience depression twice as much as any normal person. And if they go through depression, they will look forward to getting other bad habits like drinking or drinking alcohol and become an alcoholic, or drug abuse, and so on and so forth. Now, what about the sexual and reproductive health as well? They will likely have a low birth weight baby. Why? Because mentally they're not fine. And if they get pregnant, because the partner don't take care of them, so their diet wouldn't be good. The health, the diet, they won't be able to access the required health structure given to them during their gestation period. So this is the reason why most of these women who are exposed to intimate partner violence, they have low birth weight babies. And also 1.5 times highly they can acquire HIV, and they can contact syphilis. Why? Because their partner, they don't care about their health. They don't take the necessary precautions to protect themselves from STDs. And 42% leads to death and injury, while 38% globally, they have found to be murdered by their own partners, usually by either by burning, in most cases burning by their own in-laws, and so on and so forth. Now, what about India? Now, in India, the National Crime Record Bureau, okay, we have a report in the National Crime Record Bureau. If you want, you can go through the website. Basically, the National Crime Record Bureau is a police website where we publish the Crime in India report. So, according to this, okay, 4,05,861 cases have been reported about crimes against women, and Uttar Pradesh till now has topped the list of incidents against violence against women and girls. And right from 2018, there is a rise of 7.3% of rape cases, of crime against women, with 87 rape cases every day being reported in 2019. So like the graph has gone up from 2018 to 2019, so which shows that India is still lacking in protecting the women from violence. According to the IPC, after the Nirbhaya case, there were several amendments to the law. Even though there was an amendment and the punishment has been aggressive, still, there are registered cases, increase of registration of cases, especially when it comes to cruelty by husband or his relatives, like especially dowry debt. Then after this comes assault on women with intent to outrage her modesty. Assault on women with intent to outrage her modesty, like maybe, like in rape cases, they intend to rape, but she gets to escape. Or maybe in the bus stand, somebody touches her inappropriately. All these things comes as assault on women with intent to outrage. So, and then we have kidnapping and abduction. I think you must have seen in many news, like there's so many women who are kidnapped and then trafficked to other countries for sex trafficking and all, uh, and other cases. So after going through this, you can see that violence against women in India hasn't gone down at all. Now in India, what are the types of violence? So first one is domestic violence, usually caused by an intimate partner. So according to the Supreme Court, even live-in relationships also is domestic. So if a woman endures domestic violence at home by her partner, that is also another type of violence. Now under domestic, it can also be sexual violence. Sometimes we have marital rape. Then we have communal violence, a higher caste, upper caste. Recently that Hathras case also, you had like, upper caste men raped a lower caste Dalit woman, a 19-year-old Dalit woman. Then we have socio-economic violence because they are very poor, so they look upon, same thing, they're being looked upon as, like people who can be used. So because of their socio-economic status, so violence against them also is increasing. Then we have the patriarchy system. According to the patriarchy system, most families, they want a son in their in as they want a son, not a daughter. So this leads to um, feticide, especially like killing of the fetus before it is born, or maybe if or infanticide, when it's a girl child, they kill the girl child. Then we have physical assault. In the cases in India, we have any physical assault on women, especially at home by her own family, like family killings and all. Then we have culture, we have mutilation of the genitals and all. Now the most important is family violence. Family violence sometimes happen when, you know uh, like I said just now, um, you know uh, family violence like family honor, and so on and so forth. Now this is very important, the stages in a woman's life of violence. Now when we talk about this, I'm going to concentrate only in India. Right from stage one, when a fetus is formed in the body of a woman, okay, if it is a girl, immediately what will happen? They will try to kill it. Now, this is like, it's an ongoing circle of life. A woman who undergoes domestic violence may be pregnant with a female feticide, right? And then her husband beats her up, and then she has a miscarriage. So this leads to feticide. And sometimes when the baby, like, the baby in the stomach survives, and if it's born, it's a woman, or it's a girl child, then they kill the girl child as well. So this is the first stage of violence in a woman's life. Now, if that girl child is not killed, then comes a school going age. Here in a school going age, what happens? The family rarely sends them to school because she's a girl. Why send her to school? She's not required. Why spend money on her to go to school? What will she do by learning? So these are the things that happens in a woman's life. So even if she is sent to school, then her teachers, maybe her teachers will treat her differently, like because she's a girl. Maybe her classmates being men, boys, they might treat her differently. So this is another form of violence. It's mental violence. Then adolescents, they go through sexual abuse, maybe at home, maybe they get raped. All these things happen in the adolescent stage, especially child abuse, which is rampant now in India. So after adolescence comes marriage. Marriage, what happens? Domestic violence is pervasive in India. So what happens is, once the woman is sent from her home, where she's not wanted by her family, then she goes to her husband's home, and there she is treated badly by her in-laws. First thing is through dowry. If she cannot give dowry, then her life is made a living hell, and her husband beats her up, and her in-laws also treats her badly. Now, when she is married, she is expected to become a mother. Now, this is the fifth stage, motherhood. During motherhood, she's not provided with the proper healthcare facilities, with the proper diet. So she has, low birth rate. Now, if by chance again she gets pregnant with a baby girl, now she's treated badly, she gets beaten up, she might have a miscarriage. And if so, she happens to give birth, maybe the infant might not be strong enough, it might not be healthy. So these are the things that happens, in a woman's life, especially in India. Now, next is after motherhood, let's talk about the workplace. Now, women who go to work are often sexually harassed by her peers, okay, by her bosses. And hardly these women come up. Why? Because they're scared of being fired from their jobs. Even though there is a law against sexual law for prevention of sexual harassment at workplace, which was brought up in 2013, yet many women still are apprehensive of coming out and, complain that they are being harassed at work. Okay, so these are the things that happen in a woman's life. Now, since the COVID-19 is happening, so we have a pandemic all over the world where we are asked to stay home all the time, to prevent ourselves from going out and to maintain social distance, to put on masks, to wash our hands. Now, throughout this pandemic, what happened is
There's a shadow pandemic which has caused which has caused the increase of domestic violence against women and types of violence against women and girls. Now, because this has happened because the women are forced to stay at home with their perpetrators, and the perpetrator, if he is an alcoholic, if he is an aggressive person, it escalates because of the stress, because of the anxiety of the virus. Especially when it comes to women who are tested positive, what happens is they're scared of going home. Why? Because they might be stigmatized by their in-laws or by their husbands, and this also again leads to domestic violence. She's kicked out of the house, and she is treated as a pariah again. So all this has led to the shadow pandemic. Now the shadow pandemic is all over the globe. It's not only in India. Uh, it has led to household tension all over the world. And many partners who are abusers, it has become worse. It has aggravated the situation. And many partners who are not abusers, they have turned into abusers of the because of job loss, or because of like maybe they're not getting their salaries and as such. So this has led to anxiety and aggressiveness in many partners. Now this is a photo credit of UN Women. I'm showing you this because this is the correct figure, and you can go through UN Women also. You can read through this data. You can see that about 243 million, women and girls have been subjected to sexual and physical violence since the beginning of time, right? Since the previous 12 months. So this has increased during the shadow pandemic. All right. So uh, the UN has brought up a data, it has collected data on violence against women since the outbreak of COVID-19. And it has shown that in many of the countries, it has intensified, it has grown up. So like in France, the reports have shown that domestic violence have increased by 30%. Imagine that since March. So now it's November. Can you imagine the percentage now? This was March 17. So probably because of the now again it's going into lockdown again, so you can only imagine the increase in percentage of domestic violence. Now Cyprus and Singapore also, there's a 30% and 33% fall of increase in helplines against violence against women. Then we have Argentina, 25% since March 20th, and all other countries in Europe, like, and then we have Canada, we have Germany, we have Spain. All these have shown an increase of domestic violence and other forms of violence against women. So because of this reason, the UN has taken upon itself that to reach out to its to all the countries to build to build a response, a national response against violence against women during this COVID-19 situation. In India itself, the National Commissioner for Women has brought up the 181 helpline for women, as well as a WhatsApp number, which I'll be sharing later. So the same thing has been followed in other countries. So there are several services to address violence, okay, and also people, like small health groups and NGOs are trying their level best to help women under this pandemic who are going through violence. Now let's see the pathways. Why is this happening? Why is the pandemic linked to violence? Number one is in economics, insecurity, and poverty-related stress. Like I said, throughout this COVID-19 situation, many people lost their jobs. Many people didn't get their pay, especially when it comes to migrant laborers. So this has led to so much of insecurity, so much of stress that, the level of violence has gone up in the households, right? And because of this economic insecurity, and when they're sitting at home, they're being quarantined or they're being isolated, it has created mental stress and aggressiveness in many partners, especially when it comes to husbands and boyfriends who are having live-in relationships. All these things, it leads a cause to the violence against women. It has increased the violence against women. Now we have disaster and conflict-related unrest. Disaster, after the COVID-19 situation, so you can imagine there were tsunamis here, earthquakes there. That has led to so much of stress again, because when you have instability in your mind, if you have instability in your life, you can only imagine what and if you're aggressive, what it can lead to. So this has led to increase of violence again. Now, exposure to exploitative relationships due to changing demographics. Changing demographics. Now, for example, there are many, when we talk about changing demographics, there are many students and many people who go and work outside. Like from Meghalaya going to work maybe in Bangalore, or people from Bangalore working in Delhi. So there is a change in demographic, right? So if they're present there, because they can't go home immediately, so they're stuck there, and many people take advantage of that. That they take advantage of that, and they exploit those people. Okay, they exploit those people who because of the exposure they have. Like for example, maybe a person working in a call center, a girl working in a call center, because of COVID-19, she has to work from home. Then maybe some of her peers, her colleagues, or maybe her boss might take advantage of the situation and visit her at home, say, on the pretext that he wants to meet her regarding such work. So all these things have led to violence. Then again, we have reduced health service. Now, in our state now, even in other states, I think we have 108 emergency. Now, because of the COVID-19, all health services are concentrating only like majorly on COVID-19. So this has led to less access to first responder. Now, virus-specific sources of violence would be if you test positive, like I said before. If you test positive, in most cases, you're being stigmatized, and in women who, are being who are being treated badly at home, who have gone through domestic violence, if they test positive, you can only imagine what their husbands or their partners would do because of the stigma. So they would either be kicked out of their homes, they would be beaten up, they would be kicked out of their homes and be treated as a pariah again. Now, some women, we have the Stockholm syndrome, which we call it. Some women, they can't seem to get out of bad relationships. Why? Because they love their husbands too much. They love their partners too much. So this has led to a Stockholm syndrome. They can't, they can't imagine their lives without them. So because of this, also they can't escape the abusive partners. So at least if they're working, they can temporarily escape from the partner if they go to work. But since because of the pandemic, because of the lockdown, they have to stay home with their partners, and then they're beaten up by their partners. Now, exposure to violence and coercion on response efforts. The exposure to violence and coercion, uh, like if you have a family where a mother is often beaten by her father, this can also lead to exposure of violence to children, and this in turn may teach a son to treat the same way to his wife. So these are exposures which we inculcate that in our children. So it forms as something, as an exposure, wherein you teach your children to do something like that. So like suppose if it's a girl child, she sees her mother being treated that way, so she expects her boyfriend or husband later also to treat her that way. So these are the things which violence, like domestic violence, teaches children. Then we have violence perpetrated against healthcare workers. I think this has happened. Many doctors who are living in some states, they have been chased out of their rented houses because they're working on COVID-19. So, and all these things are either correlated directly or indirectly, or they interact with each other, as you can see in the pathway there. So I hope that I'm clear. Now, as per the National Commission of Women in India, okay, there is 100% surge of reported cases of violence in the country since the lockdown. So you can imagine from March to September 2020, we have received 13,410 complaints. These are complaints. What about those, that haven't complained as yet till now? So out of this, domestic violence is 4,350. So these are the ones that are being reported. So we don't know about unreported issues. Now, the United Nations Population Fund also released that the COVID-19 may increase the numbers of early marriage, because since, especially in migrant workers, people with living below poverty line, if they can't take care of the family, so what will they do? Obviously, if it's a girl child, you'll just send her and get her married off so that she won't be a problem for them anymore, right? So, and since the because of the socioeconomic status, the sex birth ratio also will go down. So there'll be, we expect like the mortality rates of girl child will go even less now because of this pandemic. Now, the projection also estimates that gender-based violence will increase if the lockdown continues for at least 6 months. Now, it has already continued for 6 months, and it is true. It has, gender-based violence has increased. Maybe it will keep on increasing because of all those issues that I've discussed with you before. Now, COVID-19 also will disrupt efforts to end child marriage because of one of the reasons why this will happen is because NGOs and self-help groups will not be able to go to those villages to educate them and give them proper awareness during this lockdown because we're not allowed to go anywhere, right? So obviously we expect that around the globe, especially between 2020 and 2030, an additional 30 million child marriages will happen. Also, there are also myths and misconceptions and stigma around COVID-19. Okay, like I've just said, like those women who are tested positive during this COVID-19, they might be stigmatized, and because of that reason, even if they are positive, they will hide their illness so that they will avoid all those discrimination. Now, according to the Population Foundation of India, the study says that they have assessed the knowledge of young people on the impact of COVID-19. Okay, and they have shown that 51% of female adolescents have increased workload. And also, and as compared to the 23% male adolescents. So in UP again, imagine 96% increase work, okay? And below 18 years of age, about 67% of girls have experienced an increase in workload. So this is all from Population Foundation of India. If you're interested in knowing about it, you can always download this data and you can read and go through. Now, this is a figure which I've taken from the Ministry of Women and Child Development. This has shown the report of domestic violence complaints since March 2020 when the lockdown started till September, and it has shown five states, okay, which the top 5 states which has reported the largest number of complaints. So you can see the highest number was during July, okay, for Uttar Pradesh. Why is it so? Because that was a time when the lockdown, when the pandemic, when the virus was the highest at that point of time. Now we can see by September it has gone down a bit. So we can see the graph there, right? It keeps going up, going down, up, down, up, down. So this is in relation to the lockdown that happened. In some cases the lockdown happened like for 3 months and then it stopped and then it opened and then it started again. So this will keep happening. So suppose if there's a lockdown again, we expect that domestic violence complaints will go up. Now, like I said before, the National Commission of Women is working hard to help women who are experiencing violence right now during the pandemic. And during that time, they have brought out a helpline number, okay, where it's given here. If you wish to copy it, you can copy it. You can always send a WhatsApp message to it, and they will come and access help. How will they access help? They will send your message maybe to the State Commission of Women in your particular state, and they will help you with that. Now, this is very important. The World Health Organization wants us to tell everyone there in the world that if you're experiencing violence during COVID-19, you need to reach out to your family. You shouldn't hide. And if your family is not supportive, you reach out to your friends who can help you. You reach out to your neighbors or to your colleagues. You shouldn't feel shy, because you wouldn't feel shy if you're feeling sick and telling them, right? So why should you feel shy if you're experiencing violence? Because violence, again, is another disease. Or you can call a hotline. For example, you can send a message on the helpline number, which is given here, or you can call 181. That is also a hotline for, that is brought up by the National Commission for Women. Or you can seek out local services. We have like the one-stop center. Like in Shillong, we have the Voilence. We call it Voilence. It is a one-step health center for women who are experiencing violence in their household. So you can do the same in your state. So these are the helplines for women facing domestic violence, okay, or intimate partner violence. You can see this. I will be sending this PowerPoint to Kantiak, and maybe she can share with you later through via email. So see, we have the domestic abuse hotline 181, which is very easy to remember. 181. So you have domestic abuse. If you find anyone, your friends, your family, your sister, anyone whom you know, your neighbor, if they are experiencing domestic violence, it is your duty to inform the hotline 181. Okay, please don't feel shy, don't feel scared. You can always inform. Now let's talk about the legal rights. I don't know if I've taken a lot of your time. I have only maybe 15 minutes right now. I hope I can finish this. Legal rights every woman should be aware of. Now CRPC, Section 160 of CRPC, it talks about interrogation of a woman. The police, remember, it cannot compel a woman for her physical presence at the police station for interrogation. Okay, they have to go to her residence and in the presence of her family members. Most of the time, people, women especially, they don't know this. Then again, Section 46 of CRPC says that no woman can be arrested between dawn and dusk. That is between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Okay, even if an arrest warrant has been issued. And also, the arrest of a woman should be done by one woman, okay, by a female police officer, not by a man. And if you have to arrest a woman, it has to be a female police officer only. Okay, and also you must remember that they should always maintain decency and dignity while searching you. For this is for women. Again, they should remember that the decency and dignity that your decency and dignity should be maintained. And also, no male officer can touch you. They cannot search you. And also, the arrest of a pregnant woman should only be done keeping in mind her health. Okay, keeping in mind her health, and it's only done only in rare cases. And usually we don't arrest pregnant women, but only in rare cases. Also, we have women police stations. Every state has women police stations in all the districts present. So they are kept in separate lockups. Right now, also we have women police stations here. And the medical examination of a woman, it should be done only by a female medical practitioner. Now, if the arrest of a woman is done and the offense is not serious, then we can offer bail. Okay. Now, if it is a non-bailable offense, then that discretion can be done only by a judicial officer. Okay, by a judge. Now, women arrested also has to be guarded only by female police officers and female police constables. Then also, if a woman faces violence, especially at night, okay, if she can't go by herself to the police station, she can send someone else to make the complaint or to file information on the said violence, either through email or through telephone. It is the prerogative of the police to go to her house to find out what happened to her. Okay. Now, rights against voyeurism. Now, this is happening everywhere, especially now with the internet. Most girls are being, especially when it comes to private acts like sexual acts, consensual intercourse happening between a girl and a boy. So what does the boy do? He takes a video and then he loads it into a porn website. Now, all these things, there are crimes, and they can be jailed under Section 354 IPC, as well as other acts like the IT Act. So women should remember that you have a right against voyeurism. Now, if someone watches you or captures you or shares your image or videos, while you're engaging in any act without your consent, you can always file a complaint, file an FIR in your respective police station. Now, the rights at workplace is like I was saying about workplace, right? Sexual harassment at workplace. So any workplace which has more than 10 employees should have a internal complaints committee, as per the Sexual Harassment at Workplace Act 2013. Now, this act came into place in 2013. during those times, the workplace has become like, um, the workplace has become like a place where uh, most of the senior colleagues, they demand sexual favors in exchange for work or promotion or benefits. So because of that reason, this act came into place. And also this law is developed not only for workplace like offices and schools. It also works for domestic health. Now if your domestic health is a woman, she can always file a sexual harassment complaint if she is being treated, uh, if she is being harassed sexually by her, by the people present in that household. Now, again, the section 125 of CRPC is the right to maintenance. Like, women should remember that if you're married or if you're in a live-in relationship and if you have a child, then you can seek maintenance if your husband leaves you. So you can always do this through the civil court, or you can also file a criminal complaint. So if you want to know more about this, I would suggest you to read more about Section 125. You can always Google it. I don't have the time right now to do that. So basically, you can Google it, Section 125 of CRPC, right to maintenance. And you can also update others who don't know about this, because majority of women don't know that you can actually file a civil suit for maintenance by her husband. Suppose her husband divorces her or leaves her for another woman, she can always file for maintenance. Now, the Constitution of India also has provided constitutional rights for women, right? The rights and safeguards that are given in the Constitution of India. Yesterday was the Constitution Day where we read the Constitution of India. So based on that, I remembered today to actually include the articles which safeguards the Constitution, which safeguards the women in India. Okay, so like Article 15, if you read through Article 15, it's about discrimination, that the state will not discriminate against any citizen. So on the ground of sex, like if it's a woman, you can't discriminate her. So that means that if someone denies you on the grounds of sex and like a work or something like that, you can always complain. Again, the state is empowered to make special provisions for women, right? So you have to make so as based on Article 15, you can read that again. Like, no one can be discriminated upon, especially on the grounds of sex. So especially when it comes to work, when it comes to reservation policies, now especially like for us in the police, the Home Ministry has brought out a mandate that 33% of reservation should be for women. So we hope that this will happen. So maybe in other workplaces we can do the same. No citizen shall be discriminated against or be ineligible for any employment or office under the state on the ground of sex. Now, this is the same thing. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean you cannot work, right? So that's why we've been talking about women empowerment. When we talk about women empowerment, we're talking about gender equality. When we say equality, means equal rights. So why should we be discriminated upon just because we're women? Like suppose like if you want to work as a driver, if you can drive, why not be a driver? Just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you can't do that. So these are the things that we should think about. Now, the traffic in human beings and forced labor are prohibited as per Article 20 clause 1. When we say traffic in human beings, we're not talking only about women, we're talking about men and boys as well. But like I said, when it comes to trafficking, majority are women and girls as compared to men and boys. Now, the state also has to secure the life of men and women equally, right? We have a means of livelihood, and we should have the same means of livelihood, both men and women, as per Article 39. And also, we have to have pay for equal work. Like right now, both Indian men and women, when we're working somewhere, we should have equal pay for equal work. So I'm a DYSP right now. Okay, my pay is equal to my male counterparts. The state is required to ensure that the health and strength of women workers also are not abused and that they are not forced by economic necessity to enter vocations unsuited to their strength. Again, let's face it, we are also women and we need to think about our health and strength as well, which is why when we talk about, like me, I'm a policewoman, but I'm a police officer, but I am a woman. So there are some things that as a woman I can't do, but my male counterparts can do. So based on that, we are not abused that just because we're women, just because I'm a police officer, that I will be harassed and say that just you have to do this work that you can't do, right? Like suppose for example, we have maternity leave. when a woman gets pregnant, we get maternity leave for 6 months. So these things, these small policies have been brought up by the center to help to improve the health of women. Now also we have, like I just said, we have maternity relief, and also we have human conditions at work. When we say human conditions at work, that means we have proper sanitation. We have an internal complaints committee as in against sexual harassment and all other things like that. Again, also it is a duty of every citizen of India, be it male or female, be it anybody, we have to denounce the practices which brings down the dignity of women as per the Article 51A. Also, in every panchayat, there should be a reservation for women. Okay, 1/3 of the seats should be reserved for women as per Article 243D. I can keep on continuing saying all these things, but you can always Google them. Then the number of offices in the municipality, also 1/3 of the total number of seats has been reserved for women, and state legislature also the same thing. Okay. Now, if you look at politics itself, we have so many women politicians, and our first women prime minister, Indira Gandhi. So these are the things that that has brought about empowerment in women. When you look at people like the first IPS officer, Kiran Bedi, or when you look at other women like Mother Teresa, all these things, it brings it actually makes us feel good that a woman can become someone in society. So as part of the program today, we should remember that maybe we can not only think globally, but we can think locally of the local female heroes, and maybe instead of idolizing them, we can try to emulate them, because by doing so, you won't fear of standing up to people harassing you, or standing up against violence. Now, the legal rights of women. Now, like I said, because I'm a because I'm a police officer, there are certain legislations that have been brought out to protect your rights and safeguards, right? So I won't be reading all these things. So remember that for domestic violence, we have an act which protects them. So that's why I keep saying, if you know of anyone undergoing through violence like domestic violence, you can always complain, because there is an act against it, like the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. Then, if you know of someone who is being trafficked immorally, like recently here in Meghalaya, we got a sex trafficking ring where children below the age of 14, from 12 to 14, girls of the age of 12 to 14 were trafficked. Okay, they were sexually exploited. So this also comes under the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act. So all these legal rights of women that you can read through right now, like Indecent Representation of Women Prohibition Act, and the Commission of Sati Act, and we have the Dowry Prohibition Act, Maternity Benefit Acts. All these acts have been brought out so that we can save women. We can provide safety for women in India. Now, again, we have the IPC, the CRPC, we have the Indian Christian Marriage Act, we have the Legal Services Authority Act, the Hindu Marriage Act, Succession Act, and the most important is for sexual harassment of women at workplace. Now, throughout these slides, I just hope that you can hear me. Can you hear me, everyone? Okay, thank you. Okay, now how can you help? First of all, to help, you need to know. You need to educate yourself, right? You need to learn the facts of violence against women. What type of violence are there? And to know the prevalence in your state. Now, by doing so, by educating yourself, you can actually help in providing awareness. Now, you know what? You are so lucky that you're living in a world right now where, even though the world is so big, you're being connected by the internet that has made the world into a smaller place. So by educating yourself, you can actually create awareness on social medias and all kinds of platforms. So before you do that, you need to educate yourself first, because if you don't educate yourself first, then you're just making yourself a fool of yourself, isn't it? So please learn the facts first and the prevalence, and start educating yourself. And by doing so, you can start creating awareness. Now, believe survivors. This is a question that many has asked. Why should we believe survivors when there are many false cases? Yes, it's true. There are many false cases also where, like a woman might, file a false case on someone out of maybe because she hates him or something like that. But let's remember that it is not our job to judge them, right? It is not our job to judge them because we don't know what they've been through. If it is a false case, then let the investigating officer do their job. They will find out, okay? And if so, then she will be dealt with in accordance to the law. So as our part, we have to believe the survivors so that we can help them. Again, because you're all smart people, you're young people, and you should become more um, I think you should be more vocal. Right, you can contact your local legislators, your local MLAs, or your local MPs, and talk to your political leaders, and ask them to make tougher laws against, like the perpetrators for violence against women. Like in the Nirbhaya case, because of the Nirbhaya case, there was a lot of amendment in the IPC and CRPC as well. When it comes to punishment, it has been made more stringent. Then the POXO Act, the prevention of children against sexual abuse act. Then we have the GJ Act. All these acts have been amended because of Nirbhaya. So you can do the same, even though the amendment is there, yet crime against women has not gone down. So from your part, you can always talk to your local legislators, talk to your teachers, talk to your professors, bring a change by yourself. Like, Mother Teresa once says that, if you cast a stone, it creates ripples. So maybe if you can do the same, you throw a stone, and it causes ripples, and maybe people will follow that ripple, and you can create a huge tsunami, a huge tsunami of getting tougher laws against violence, against the violence against women. Now what you can do also, you can create awareness and school policies on sexual harassment. This is very important because the world has changed. There have been many cases, like sexual harassment has happened on children, sex abuse on children. And most of these children, they don't, they fear of, you, of complaining to the teachers, of informing the teachers or informing their parents. And let me tell you, out of 100%, 80% of perpetrators are known to the victim, both in the cases of women and girls as well as children. So based on this, you have to create awareness and you have to create school policies when it comes to sexual harassment. Also, to learn all that, you need to know the sign of abuse. You need to address the behaviors which you feel are questionable. What do I mean by that? Sometimes, domestic people who have gone through domestic violence, you will notice their behavior is very, very different from normal people. They become more subdued. They hardly come out of their house. If it is your friend, especially, before marriage, she is very bubbly and chirpy. And then suddenly after marriage, she stays in her home. She's not allowed to go out and all that. So all these things are confusing. All these things are questionable. So you need to learn that. You need to learn that it might be a sign of abuse. It might be a sign of violence. So you can help out. Also, like I said, know that most sex offenders aren't strangers. 86% are known to their victim. This is very, very important, especially when it comes to children, because in most cases, in most POXO cases, rape on children, okay? Rape on children are being done by the person known to them, especially it can be a father, it can be a brother, it can be an uncle, it can be a nephew, it can be a teacher, right? It can be a friend. So all these things. So you must know that sex offenders at most times they aren't strangers, and you have to create that awareness, especially in schools and colleges. Now learn your role as a legally mandated reporter. When we say legally mandated reporter, that means it is mandatory for you to know that you can always report. You don't have to wait for someone to allow you to go and report. When you hear someone is being sexually abused, especially children, you don't have to wait for someone to tell you go and report. You are legally mandated to act as a reporter against such crimes. Okay? Then don't feel shy, speak up. Always speak up. If you are a victim, speak up. If you know a victim, speak up. Or speak up. Why? Because if you don't speak up, then there is no point of us talking here right now. Because right now we're talking about the International Day for Elimination of Women against Violence, right? for elimination of violence against women. Sorry. So if you don't speak out, how do you expect, to eliminate it? So you have to speak up. Now also again you have to think globally. When I say to think globally, means think of yourself on a global platform, that these things are happening globally. How can I help reduce it? By acting first locally. Locally means in your own locality. Help out the women in your own local locality first. Then you can increase. If you wish to help, you start from your locality. Then from your locality, you can help through districts through state-wise, and so on and so forth. So always think locally, and you can start acting locally. Okay. Now I've come to the end of my session. So please remember this. Maya Angelou, she's a well-known poet. She said that each time a woman stands up for herself, right? If she stands up for herself, she won't know it without claiming it. She stands up for all women. So if you stand up for yourself, then you also stand up for all other women. Because if you complain, if you make a point that, we should stop violence against women, then maybe other women will join hands with you, okay, to fight against violence. So thank you. I hope this has been a good session. I'm sorry for my bad network problem. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. So I've come to the end of my session. If you have any questions.
Ma'am, how can we help our neighbor who is facing domestic violence and is elder to us and they will not bother to listen to us?
See, the thing is, if it is a neighbor and not willing to listen to you, right? You can always take the help of your family, like your mother. But if your mother also is not willing, they'll say, "Oh, why do you want to?" To intrude in their lives and all. You can always tell your teacher. You can always tell your professors, or you can always inform a police officer. You can go to the police station and inform. Okay, that will be anonymous. Anonymous in the sense that even if you inform, they won't tell the victim that you informed them. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome. Any other questions?
Okay, ma'am. Here are the some queries which during our survey, like when we asked them to fill the form, like one
Okay.
question was like, how can they help people, those who are marginalized, those who are in rural areas, like they don't have phones and all, how they'll protect, like how government have take initiative in order to protect those people.
See, to protect the rural people, the government has brought up many schemes. If you go to the several schemes, like we have like in case of rape victims, we have the Nirbhaya scheme. In the case of girl child, we have the Beti Pachao, Beti Parao scheme. If you look through the National Commission for Women website, you'll find many schemes that have been brought up by the government for not only for rural people, even for urban people as well. And from the side of the police, we tend to go through to areas where there's no network connectivity and perform these awareness programs based on legally as well as policies as well. So from your side, if you wish to do that, especially when it comes from when you wish to do it from your own colleges or from your own universities, you can always do that. Go and create awareness in rural areas, because majority of rural areas won't have connectivity. So if you go there by yourself, they feel happy, they welcome you with open arms. So that's what we've been doing from our side. We go to rural areas, we create awareness programs, and from the side of the government there are several schemes, okay, and these schemes have that are brought out, they are being shared with the headman of that locality or that village, and and they announce those schemes there. Have I answered your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, welcome.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
I have a question.
Yes.
Ma'am, how to deal with the social barriers which are solely responsible for the violence against women,
Okay.
like
So,
the rituals,
okay.
various cultural or social norms or social taboos or the patriarchal mindset, etc.
Okay. See, that's the thing, right? When we talk about this patriarchal mindset, there's a reason why the hashtag Me Too came out, right?
Yes,
Um,
ma'am.
what? Yeah, because of the patriarchal mindset. One is that. So, as a woman, as an educated woman, how can you fight against these social norms? Is yourself to educate yourself on those norms and to educate others against them, right? Because you can't expect, we have social welfare which has been doing that. Okay, we have social welfare which has been doing that. Like I said, like the state commission has been doing that, but we should play our part also. So as a woman, okay, as a woman, you from your side also you can do the same thing. You have in order to go against those norms, you have to educate yourself first, and then you have to speak against them. So you'll find it's so hard to influence people regarding these things, because I've tried, me as a police officer, I've tried so many times. I've gone to villages where like there is a rampant child marriage, because of children below the age of 16 get pregnant. And when I asked them, why are you doing this, they said, because we don't have money to go to school, so we just get pregnant and husband goes to work,
Yes,
so that she can just go, just to send them away from home. So
yes, ma'am.
these are the things that you have to educate, that by doing so you're not helping them, you're in fact, you're actually killing them. So in order to do that from your side, you have to learn, you have to educate. And if you wish to work on such matters, you can always contact your NGOs, right? We have Impulse, we have self-help groups. You can always contact them, and they always welcome people who are willing to volunteer. Okay.
Yes,
So
ma'am. Ma'am,
uh,
but in some cases, like
yes,
upper caste people or upper class people, they
yes,
are
yes,
trying to suppress their voice by using
yes.
their status and their social dominance power. So, in such cases, what should be the measures?
See, this caste system is very this dominance of caste system. No, it's created a lot of problem when it comes to creating awareness, right?
Yes,
Like in the case, like I was talking about the Hathras rape case. I think you must have read about that, about a
yes,
lower
ma'am.
Dalit, yeah, lower Dalit girl, lower class Dalit girl being raped by upper class, and how her cremation was done without the knowledge of her family. So these things are still prevalent in our country. So we can't look for an immediate solution to these things, because in India the caste system has been prevalent since times immemorial, right? So
Yes,
these are
ma'am.
the things that you can't solve right now. So as someone who is educated, you have to go step by step, like that. So like I said, you need to talk to your legislators, your political legislators. You need to talk to the people in your village who are at a higher rank, so to create stringent policies against these things. Okay, like for
Okay, ma'am.
example, rape. Yeah, stringent policies against like we have the trustees against SC/ST Act, right? We
Yes,
have that.
ma'am.
So you can file a case against them using that act also. You just need to complain, and you just need to file a complaint, and an FIR will be registered with the required sections from that act. Okay, that is number
Okay,
one.
ma'am.
You can always complain. So number two is, like I said, this is a problem which cannot be solved right now. So you need to educate yourself and talk to your legislators to make stringent policies. Okay. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, welcome. Any other questions? Any other questions? Hello? Can you hear me?
I think there's no more question from their side.
I'm so sorry I took extra 20 minutes because of my internet connection, but I do hope this has been a helpful interaction, a helpful presentation. I would surely like to have a feedback from you. I will send you my email ID. And if you have any question, you can always email me. Okay, and I'll be sending you my WhatsApp number. If you have further questions, and please do provide me a feedback on the session. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, ma'am. This was very insightful. So, like, I hope every one of you have gained knowledge through this session. So, like, we thank you, ma'am, on behalf of ONO organization. You have spare your busy schedule time. You have spare your time with us on this day. So we are very thankful, and uh, I hope every one of you have learned something or the other from this session. And I hope you guys will encourage your friends or your relatives or anyone like to share these things about this topic and all. You can share with your family members and all. This is very important as um, this has become the main issue these days, not only these days but even in the past years. So please do do educate yourself first, and then share with your family members, your friends and all. So thank you everyone. Like without your presence, this will not be possible. So thank you for being there with us, and hope to see you all soon. And we hope you, ma'am, to join us or to join this organization again. And thank you for everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kantak. Thank you, everyone. Hope to hear from you. Okay, thank you.